This is Dr. Ariel Policano, naturopathic doctor and host for the Genius Weekly Training. It's my great pleasure to be here today to teach you about the genius. I really appreciate everybody who's joining us today. Deanna, Diana, Deborah, warm welcome. Kendra, Lorraine, Val is here. Stella's here. You know, not everybody got the link because it was on short notice, and so I do apologize for that, but we'll go from there and know that in the new year, new friends will be joining us. As I was saying right before we got started, that this is the year where if you want to heal something that has been chronic in your life, you will really be able to do it. This is going to be an opportunity to try many new things, and truly you're going to discover that there is nothing that you cannot heal in your life. And we're going to explore many of those opportunities together in our classes. So I'm really looking forward to 2019, and we have so much more to explore with the genius. There are so many different ways that you can look at the genius. There are so many different things to learn from the genius. So really thank you. And thank you, everyone, all of the affiliates. I'll probably be traveling a lot more in 2019. So if you want me to come to your area and do a teaching class, I'd be more than happy to do that. So, you know, let me know. I would love to come and visit with you. And just let me know if you have more than 15 people who might be available who would like to have a Genius Weekend class, and we can get that rolling. So, and thank you everyone who attended the summit and who was part of the summit. I really appreciate it. It was really a great event, a very successful event that brought a lot of new interest into the genius. And people can still go to the Energy Medicine Life Facebook page and they can check that out and still participate in that. So that's still available. So you guys, let's go ahead and get started with this case and talk more about it. And thank you so much everybody who's joining me on New Year's Eve. It's actually New Year in a lot of different places, so happy New Year to everyone and pre-New Year to you. I know it's going to be a prosperous and blessed New Year, so thank you again for all you do to uplift people and inspire people around you, and really never cease to be amazed by our incredible community of healers. So thank you so very much. All right, let's talk a little bit about this case, and let me just see if the sound was okay. Sounds great. Thank you, Diana. And Deborah has volunteered. Deborah, I want to get to you for sure. And Maria, am I saying your name right? Let me know. We had a wonderful conversation by chat the other day, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much, Jane. A warm welcome to you, and a Happy New Year to you too. So before we do get started with that, I do want to mention that if you have the Oil on Point panel, you want to sign out of the genius and then sign back in. When you sign back in, be sure to go to the upper right screen where you will see that there is a refresh button at the upper right of the screen. So that refresh button will help you to update to the new version of the Oil on Point panel. And let's go ahead and just take a quick look at that panel. It's now under Y. So it's listed under Y for Young Living Oils. I have to go actually over here. Young Living Oils on Point testing panel. And over our break, would you believe, Diana, thank you so much. Diana from Florida sent us all of the updated information that we had missed. Hang on one second. And Kelly, on her flight back from her vacation, actually went in and made all of the changes. So a big thank you to Diana and a big thank you to Kelly. What a wonderful teamwork we have going here. And if you go into the Oil on Point panel, you'll now see 339 items. One thing that I'm doing in all the panels that I am now developing is I'm incorporating actual Hertz frequencies into them. If you saw the email from me this morning, there is a panel on there called Normalizing Frequencies. And you can get that panel, and it's the actual, I think it's under wellness frequencies. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that. So these frequencies, I'm going to be adding more in case you have gotten this panel, but you'll now be able to utilize a singular frequency for normalizing human growth hormone, normalizing hemoglobin, normalizing heart function. These are actual, we can do it hololinguistically, but these are actual Hertz frequencies. So if we go in here, this 696 is a specific Hertz frequency associated with normalizing heart function. So you could bring this particular frequency into the tray or place it up in the quick zap depending on what you want to do. So does that make sense? And then I'm using these types of specific Hertz frequencies, some that are listed here, others that are more esoteric, in all of my panels. So they may be a combination of hololinguistics and very special embedded frequencies. So that is the what's on the menu for 2019. So they'll be very unique, but they'll also be very powerful. Okay, so you're going to hear the sound change a little bit. If it doesn't change or you can't hear me, then let me know. So it should be a little bit better sound. Okay, so again, what these are, these wellness frequencies, you can use a specific frequency in your testing in order to create that particular thing. So if somebody has a hormonal imbalance or they're not sleeping well, you could drag this frequency into the quick zap and use normalized human growth hormone, or normalize blood circulation, or normalize lymph circulation, or normalize thyroid function. So these all have, they're not hololinguistic, they have a very specific frequency associated with them, which is 763 for thyroid function. Some of them have a combination of frequencies. This is for normalizing progesterone levels, 1443, 1446, and 763. So what I'm going to be doing is in my new panel development, like if you saw the medicinal mushrooms from this morning, all of those are hololinguistic, but they also have specific frequencies woven into them. For example, lion's mane has a hololinguistic, but it also has an overlay of normalizing the nervous system, because lion's mane has been used for Parkinson's. So I added an extra boost frequency of a Hertz frequency used for normalizing nervous system function, which is the one here. So I laid that over, added it to the medicinal mushroom frequency. So you'll find a lot of those fun things now in the panels in 2019. And you can actually get this one yourself. That was in the specials today. This wellness frequencies one, which is about normalizing certain things. I'm actually going to be adding more. It should be about 50 when it's done. And then we talked about the Young Living Oil on Point. And then this morning, if you saw the email, there's also another new panel, which is the medicinal mushrooms. It's something I've been wanting to really share with you for a long time. Let's see. There we go. I thought it was missing. So the medicinal mushrooms is also a fun combination of hololinguistics and specific frequencies, as well as a specific brand, you guys. If you know anyone who has cancer or Parkinson's or adrenal fatigue, you'll want to introduce them to mushrooms, test them for mushrooms, and particularly if you want to take the actual mushrooms, you'll want to source JHS online. JHS, it's an Oregon-based company, and they're very, very good quality mushrooms, like medical grade mushrooms. So there, and you really get a lot of bang for your buck. It's not watered down in any way. It's not something that you're generally going to find when you go to Whole Foods. You're going to have to order it online. And especially, I'm going to have a guide with this. If you got this morning, the guide will be basically forthcoming. So let's see.
Right. The guide will be forthcoming because I really want to educate you guys about especially this Coriolis Super Strength VPS. I take this as a wellness supplement from time to time, but this one is that Coriolis Versicolor for cancer. Really, really good stuff. So like I said, 2019 is going to be unquestionably, if you want to heal, every resource that you need for healing is going to emerge. If it's light, if it's frequency, if it's the genius, if it's mushrooms, if it's red light, we're going to be talking about molecular hydrogen. Just there's so many things that are just percolating. I mean, if you just go on the news, they might say this is a terrible time. But I think we can all agree if you're in looking through our lens that we look through together for this family of biofeedback practitioners, this is going to be the best year. This is going to be filled with so much hope and so much celebration for people finally finding the thing that they wanted that will help them to heal. So, and we'll be doing all of the classes and webinars to teach you how to do it and let you know about these important breakthroughs in 2019. So it's really, really an exciting time. I know I'm getting tingly feeling, thinking about 2019. And thanks again, everyone. You make the community what it is. I feel extremely blessed by the presence of all of you. Everything that you're doing, all the questions that you ask, all the participation in the classes, what you're doing out in the world, testing people, it's fabulous. It's absolutely amazing. It makes it exciting to be alive, to know that there are such fabulous people in the world wanting to help and uplift others. Let's get to the case from this morning. We had Chantel welcome Chantel. She's here. She's from Quebec and is thinking about getting the genius, trying to sort of pull it all together to get the genius. And she's been really very, very active in her trial, but she has some physical things that she's concerned about. So let's look at some of those physical things. She discovered that she has a growth in her lower abdomen or pelvic area. Now, it's quite substantial in size, but I guess my question has it been classified as a fibroid, Chantel? Is it in fact a fibroid? That sounds like a fibroid, or is it something else besides a fibroid? Then she's got some emotional charge stuff going on. Very, very brave and courageous of you to say that. And then she's got chronic lymphatic congestion, especially in the lower limbs. Now, in that normalizing frequency, what's really wonderful is that 676 hertz and 15.2 hertz. 676 hertz is for stimulating normal limb function. And let's go ahead and let's just test that panel. Let's go to that wellness frequencies panel. Okay, that was in the email this morning. If it's something you're interested in, we're doing the final year-end special, so you can get this on a very special price. And interestingly enough, wow, look at that. So what she said was, I've got chronic lymphatic congestion, especially in the lower limbs. And then final thing she said, tight jaw, teeth and gums issues. Okay. So the first thing that really I'm going to be doing with every single person is, again, asking, are they on a starch-based diet? And maybe that's something you're already doing, is you're eating a totally plant-based diet, start with starches being the underpinning. But often when people say, oh, yes, I'm vegan or so forth, they're not really doing it the way that I've described, which is no oils, no processed sugar, really low on the processed foods in general. And that's something I'll be doing more coaching and classes for. It's really important that if you're open to the idea, you really get this correct, that it's no oil, it's basically no processed foods, and we'll talk more about the implications of that, and no refined sugar. I mean, I had a tiny, tiny bit of Ghirardelli dark chocolate, and the whole year really have not eaten any refined sugar. It's been a long journey, you guys, that I've been trying to refine my food plan. And so I really thought about it, and I'm like, gosh, I really haven't had refined sugar maybe since 2017. And so I ate it, and I felt so sick after eating it. I mean, we're talking a little Ghirardelli square. of dark chocolate. And I was just like, this doesn't feel good. It just doesn't resonate. So, if you're vegan or plant-based, it's also, avoiding the sugar as much as possible. But really, it's the oils, you guys. It's the things that choke off circulation and the things that provide a good media or a terrain for parasites and Lyme and other things to flourish. So what's interesting here is that she said lymphatic congestion, and that this came up. So this will be a wonderful frequency. And right behind that is the oh, these shouldn't be the same. I'm so sorry. Let's see. We're going to check these in a moment. One should say normalize lymph system circulation, and the other one should be normalize lymph system function. So that's interesting. We'll go and look at these at their origin in just a moment. So this should be changed. One is for lymphatic function, and the other one is for circulation. And so that is actually picking up the actual Hertz frequencies, maybe more than the words, because I didn't make these hololinguistic. I only made them Hertz frequencies. Really interesting. And it's fun to get into the finer details of all of this as we all become more advanced. Okay, she doesn't know what the origin of the mass is. It's very likely that it's a fibroid, and fibroids can come very, very easily from imbalanced hormones. So, and if you're, I think this is going to be a big push this year, you guys, for more and more people to sort of lighten up on the meat or hopefully give it up completely. And we'll be looking at all of the science behind that and why it's important, because to let you know where my brain goes, as soon as I see that, there's something in her hormone metabolism that is probably causing the growth. So let's do a quick look at the aura so we can go back, and that should be something you do at the beginning of all of your, oh my goodness, look at spiritual protection at 2, so we probably should look at that. So this is something that you should always look at, is the aura right in the beginning. Let's go ahead and look and see what that looks like. And and Chantel is in her later 50s, so 50-something years young. Okay, so it looks like maybe she's been running some frequencies on herself. This actually looks rather good at the bottom here, and it looks a little cloudy up here. So this could easily be the teeth and the jaw, the gum issues right here. And then some clouds up above, this tells us very likely the physical issues. And this could also be emotional. I guess there's up around the head. This could be the emotional conflict or emotional stress going on. So definitely, trying to figure out what's going on there. All right, so then we want to let's go ahead and look at the spiritual protection because it sort of jumps out at you. 2 is a low number. A low number means it's a very highly reactive number. So I'm going to talk more about this reactivity again and again and again. So this reactivity is, something that we want to release, something that we want to unwind, like the fascia being tight. We want to unwind that. We want to just remove the impediment to healing, which is the thing that's reactive, the thing that's fuzzy, that's not coming in clear, the thing that you're in conflict with. So here we have releasing attachments, grounding, psychic attack, although I always really believe the origin is within you, some type of conflict within you. We don't really want to place blame in the outer world because that is severely disempowering. You want to keep the responsibility and the accountability within you because then you have the power to reverse it. Now, this one stands for surround and protect for the highest good. So everyone on here, just send Chantel some divine light and send the intention of protecting her and sending her uplifting energy for the highest good. Cutting the cord, so perhaps there are some relationships that are not working at this time for the highest and best good. When I see a situation like this where the growth is so profound, I do think food, diet, I do think levels of stress and conflicts. What personal conflicts might there be? Are there any? Maybe there are none. So running spiritual protection is actually quite a powerful panel. It's just that people misinterpret the information, and so they think, oh my gosh, the world is against me. And that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to help you to ground, help you to release attachments, and to help you to reverse your own negative thinking, your own negative thoughts. Everything that you are, I saw somebody post this with that the Buddha, actually it's a Buddhist philosophy, but something, because when I was in my 20s, I actually lived in an ashram in upstate New York for some time. And I'm not associated with that particular type of spirituality anymore, but boy, did it teach me a lot that is still relevant today. And it was so clear that the chanting energy, when you're chanting, you're changing your whole being. So if it's Om or Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, the Buddhist prayer, whatever it is. So we know that your words change you, right? The chanting and so forth. That means all of your words change you. So it means that everything that you're saying about someone else or about yourself or about the world is not having a big an impact on them as it is on you. So your whole being is a product of your thoughts and your words. And it's a really big and good concept to think about as we move into 2019. Your whole, how you, your structure, your biology, your health, this is all about your thoughts. So, so we have a lot to look at here. And let's go actually to the hormonal panel here. And let's look at hormones. So this is hormone assessment. I know that past life curses is percolating up there. There's nothing actually in that panel. It was something I was trying to develop, but let me just talk about that. If you see something about curses, the curse is something you put on yourself. So that means an old pattern that you've been doing over and over again. Or if you think about it as a family curse, it's something that you learned from your parents, who learned from their parents, something that was in the tribe. So there's actually no words or frequencies in that particular panel, because it was an experimental one that I was thinking about doing, but it's interesting that it came up. And so is there something in the family? Is there a tribal value or something like that? So let's see. Okay, so Chantel says, with kinesiology, I found that there's an emotional relation. I would say there's probably, that's, you know, so let's look at the flower essences and we can talk about that a little bit. So estradiol, prolactin, melanin, boy, there's nothing really jumping out here, I have to say. That is a bit confusing. Of course, it's postmenopausal. But let's go ahead and let's look at the fibroid assessment. So there is a fibroid assessment for those of you who have the complete 200 panels. The 200 natural health testing panels are on sale for New Year's Eve for year end. So if you don't have the 200, many of you do, this is a good opportunity. They're $1,000 discounted, so you may want to check those out. So I'm feeling that this may indeed be a fibroid issue at 752. We don't know for sure. We say that it's the, you know, the labs are going to have the final say, that actually what is on the picture, what is on the MRI, but there's a good chance. I mean, most of these uterine masses are at a, so in the 50s, relatively young. So assuming it's much more likely that it's a benign growth like a fibroid, which hopefully that's reassuring, hopefully that's comforting. And we won't know until we see the actual pictures, right? Until we get the actual pathology and so forth. Okay, iodine deficiency, you guys, if you don't know, iodine does a huge amount of regulation of the uterus. And there can even be uterine infections and things like this that iodine will help a lot with. The kind of iodine I recommend is nascent iodine, NASCENT. And Environmedica, they're really the best ones to get nascent iodine from. I notice other companies are offering it, but I still have gotten the best results from nascent iodine. It comes in a dark, well, it's clear, but it's a very, very good quality iodine. So you take maybe 5 to 10 drops a day. You could put it in water. You could actually apply it. Some women apply it to their breasts because iodine is really needed in the breast tissue. And you can apply iodine anywhere. It'll be very much, taken up by your body very quickly. And of course, you can consume it orally as well. All right, so then we also see the subserosal fibroids. So these are different types of fibroids depending on where in the muscle layer of the endometrium, called the uterus, depending on where that is in particular. And then we see estrogen dominance. So very high levels of estrogen, too low levels of progesterone. Let me explain that. So when a woman is postmenopausal, her estrogen goes down, but her progesterone goes down way more, like it drops like a rock. It's very, very low. So there's a tremendous differential between the estrogen and the progesterone. Ways to assist that would be stop eating, any type of animal products because that'll contribute more to the relative imbalance, and get some chaste tree berry, Vitex herbal, or get some progesterone cream, or run progesterone frequencies. So we have a lot of those in the endocrine rejuvenation program, and we have them in the hormonal panels and even in the new wellness frequency panels. So there'd be lots of ways to do that, and that's something you'd want to do every single day. One thing we really haven't talked about that's really interesting is giving yourself a Quanta capsule. So do you have a Quanta capsule yourself? If you have your Genius on an iPad, what you could do in the morning is you could create a little capsule for yourself with the frequencies that you want to run all throughout the day. Then you could transfer them to the capsule on your phone, and then while you're out and about doing what you need to do, you could be running those particular frequencies. So it's, when you exit out of the Genius, you lose the whole session. So this is one way that you could keep the energy going, and you don't have to retest for that entire day. So that's one thing to think about. Sometimes you want these sessions to go on for an extended amount of time when you're really working on something that's very, very serious, that you want to get results on. So like Chantel, she might want to opt for that so she can just keep sort of hitting this energy to deal with these fibroids. Now, you can see all of the frequencies lighting up for the fibroids, the myometrial fibroids, the submucosal fibroids, the subserosal ones. So again, biofeedback is not a perfect science. You have to read between the lines. What sort of impression would you walk away from seeing fibroids light up all over here and at the top? Well, I guess it's some type of fibroid, but we would never walk away and say it's definitely subserosal, or even that it's definite. But when you read the energetic patterns, you pretty much will land on the truth every time. And in that way, it makes you incredibly powerful and really able to help people. So we want to explain it in a way that this is not a diagnosis, just an energetic reading. And it also could be something that's in the process of developing. That's an important concept. And it doesn't exist right now, but it's on the energy field, so it could manifest as something physical. As I mentioned, chaste tree, this is something that helps women to produce a healthy form of progesterone in their body with herbal medicine. Black walnut can help with parasites and help with digestion. Black Spanish radish helps to regulate estrogen within the body. That's something that's available through Standard Process. They have a pretty good Black Spanish radish product. Licorice extract, and something I was going to talk about next, is proteolytic enzymes. So whenever you have any type of a mass, something that's a buildup, it means that the mechanism that your body has to remove that metabolic waste has broken down. So either you're very stressed out and you're not digesting, or for some reason, because of your food, you're not digesting properly, or maybe you have low enzymes. And so there's a buildup as a result. There's a breakdown, I'm sure Chinese medicine could talk about it in terms of the spleen or the triple warmer, but there's some type of a breakdown. And so you get this buildup of metabolic waste that had previously been cleared by the body. So proteolytic enzymes can come in and help to be part of the cleanup crew. They can help to break down that mass. You have to do a very high amount of proteolytic enzymes, but certainly if this is something that I was dealing with, this would be a very strong consideration, and I would certainly include it in my harmonizing. So, and you see the progesterone cream there. Then we go down to the bottom, we look at the blues, we see some acidophilus for the digestion. It's saying Lugol's. Lugol's would be good for physical applications. So if you want to do a physical application where you want to, like, you could just paint the breasts with iodine. You could paint your abdomen with iodine. You could put it on the inside of your hands. It doesn't matter. Most people find that that iodine is gone in 30 minutes to an hour. It's taken in by the body because the body's so thirsty for iodine. So Lugol's is more for external. I find that nascent is better if you want to take it internally. Remember, these are not medical recommendations. We're just having a conversation in general about things that I, think can be effective. So I'm not recommending it for any particular person. You should see your own naturopath or make a consultation with me to do a one-on-one. Welcome everyone who managed to find the link to join us today. Thank you so much for being here, and happy New Year. Wishing you much prosperity and good things for your new year. So I think we're getting the picture here, Chantal, that this is really physically, it's about a hormonal issue, which is combined with digestion, hormones, metabolizing hormones well, and having a strong digestive system to assimilate your food well. The breakdown of these has caused some of the issue that you're very likely currently dealing with. So then we can bring in the flower essences. Those are very important as well, right? Because we want to tell the story. So that's what the oil on point and the flower essences have in common. You don't have to replace one. Sometimes you'll want to use the oil on point. Sometimes you'll want to use the flower essences. Part of healing is helping the person to tell their story in a meaningful way, which reflects, okay, what was the causative factor of how I got here? If I know what caused it, then I may want to make new choices and not repeat the same patterns. In fact, that's really what Carolyn's book, right, is called Releasing Emotional Patterns. And it's an interesting name to call it releasing patterns versus releasing blockages. So the patterns, I guess, are the things that you sort of, you're locked in doing over and over and over again. It's interesting that up at the top is normalized lymph circulation. So I'd say more water. We'll be talking about being able to put molecular hydrogen into your water soon, and that could be quite helpful too. But stretching, skin brushing, rebounding, all of those would be really important. I don't know. It's so funny, like, sometimes when we're healers, the hardest person for us to work on is ourselves. So I know that you're a healer by profession. So it sounds like getting worked on for yourself is in order, and maybe taking some downtime and just getting away from whatever stressful situation. So working on this from a hormonal perspective, perhaps the proteolytic piece, really optimizing the digestion. Those are all part of the way out here, and these are some of the frequencies I would run. So olive is exhaustion following physical or mental effort. So that's, really says a lot of the story here is about maybe just having been overtired. As many of you have heard me say that there's a famous Chinese expression, Chinese medicine expression that says, you can be tired, work hard and be tired, but don't get exhausted. Don't work your way into exhaustion. That's really, really important. So it's not very much a Western philosophy. Western philosophy is you're more valuable and you show more worth the harder you work. And so we have to kind of step back from that for the sake of our own health and say, it's good to work till you're tired, but don't work your way into exhaustion. So now chicory is about finding good boundaries and respecting other space. So this may be sort of tied up in the greater lesson. And of course, you decide how this is meaningful for you. Those who are mindful of the needs of others, they tend to be overfull of care for children, relatives, and friends, always finding something that should be put right. They are continually correcting what they consider wrong and enjoy doing so. They desire that those for whom they care for should be near them. So this is about good boundaries, whether it's you know, in your close relations or people around you, whatever it might be. So, and then beach, let's look at beach, is striving to have more tolerance of others, of circumstances, and of themselves. This is probably really about just being really kind to yourself. For those who feel the need to see more good and beauty in all that surrounds them, and although much appears to be wrong, to have the ability to see the good growing within. That's an interesting line there, the good growing within, because it's about maybe a fibroid. So there's another aspect to the fibroid, which is that your uterus and ovaries are all about creation. So are you unsatisfied with what you are creating? And that could be another angle of it. So as to be able to be more tolerant, lenient, and understanding of the different way each individual and all things are working to their own perfection. So that's the emotional piece. Since we have the wonderful Karen from Canada, really appreciate her input. She's really, turned me on to this concept of the yoni steams and the yoni pearls. And Chantel, I really encourage you to go to the Energy Medicine Life Facebook page, join there, and watch Karen's lecture where she talks about how powerful the pearls are. Sometimes there's chronic irritation or infection in the uterine vaginal area, and actually working with these herbs and pearls applied vaginally can open up the energy. I love the suggestion that Karen made that it can really open up the first chakra energy and help to release. Like, think about how our lives go and the trauma and things that we've had to deal with, and the first chakra being about survival. And think about how that's never really been maybe properly cleared. Now, you could do a first chakra clearing for yourself as well, but that's another angle to think about. So remember when people say to you, I don't know what to do, I've tried everything. And now with your genius and all the panels and everything you have, you can say to them, I think it's like you haven't tried anything. There's so much to try. So this can help you to really understand that there's still so much to try. I mean, Chantel, I think in your endeavors to get better, I think you can count on your success. Once you figure out what the issue is in particular, then you have many, many tools in your tool chest, including biofeedback, to begin to address the issue. Sometimes things go so far chronic that we need some type of medical intervention in the short term. So we don't know what the ultimate thing is, but know this, I think all is well. All is well ultimately. All is well now, and all will be well. Okay. All right. Very, 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 very good response here. So when you get the right frequencies, you get a very, very good and positive response. So let's actually go to the chakras, because the chakras would be another really good one to look at. So that first chakra would be good to include, sort of no matter what, it would be good to include the first chakra. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Amazing. So we definitely want to include that. You may even want to run this extra time. So this is what I was talking about. It's that first chakra, root survival. And this is what the yoni steams and those yoni pearls, when you insert those herbs, it helps to clear out the energy where there might have been violation, betrayal, or just emotional trauma as a child that is sort of stuck or gunked up in that root chakra. So absolutely amazing, the things that you can find out in biofeedback, isn't it? All right, so let's go ahead and peek at the aura and take a look and see what's going on here. Okay, so let's see how this changes here. Boy, that aura just seems to be taking more time than I ever remember. Okay, so interesting sort of shift. There's a lot going on in the field here. This almost reminds me of like a digestive clearing, like a liver gallbladder purge. And some of that energy, I think, in the jaw, where she said she had a tight jaw, I think some of that is opening up. So even hearing about the emotional issues and starting to release them could cause this release in the jaw, because there's a lot of emotions that get caught up in the jaw. And then there's this green energy here, but there's sort of this darkness over here, but it's moving out. So this is a really good sort of a midpoint, or, intercession. You sort of expect this. There's just a lot going on. You're by no means sort of at the end point. There's just a lot of stuff in flux right now. So we can go back over to here. And now we drill down and we say, okay, what actually comes up next? There's that liver function piece. So normalized liver function. So the liver will regulate the hormones. The liver will help the digestion to be better. So that's interesting that it comes up there. So the next flower essence is sweet chestnut. So if you go to my mastery guide, you can read all of these. In the mastery guide, they're all explained. Extreme mental anguish, feeling there is no hope. For these moments, which happen to some people, where the anguish is so great as to seem unbearable, when the mind or body feels as if it had to borne the uttermost limit of its endurance, and that it now must give way, when it seems there's nothing but destruction and annihilation left to face. So that I definitely felt that energy from Chantel. There was a lot of sort of feeling very concerned about this, which who wouldn't be? That makes a lot of sense. So this kind of echoes really, really well what she was feeling. That always blows me away. So part of healing is recognition, being recognized, being understood, and understanding themselves in a way that they may not have understood themselves before. So cherry plum is fear of the mind giving way, fear of the mind being overstrained, of reason giving way, of doing fearful and dreaded things, not wished and known wrong, yet there comes the thought and impulse to do them. With cherry plum, think temper tantrum. There's much stored up energy of frustration that has not been able to find a healthy expression. So these will all be sort of personal contemplations, but hopefully they help. There's a story of, there's a book that was written about 10 years ago, and it's called, it's a method of healing that was published by the Louise Hay people, called Infinite Love and Gratitude. I remember Darren is his first name. I can't remember his last name. Infinite Love and Gratitude. I think that's what it is. And he has this story in there where this woman realized that she did this infinite love and gratitude. She did this basically an emotional energetic clearing on herself. And the next day, the fibroids that she had fell out in the toilet. She heard them clink in the toilet. So that is to say, when you do a powerful energetic healing, anything can change. When you change your frequency or your vibration, then there are things you can no longer hold in your field. That's the whole idea of biofeedback, is when you change your frequency, then you can't hold the Lyme in your field anymore. You can't hold the parasite in your field anymore. It's you change the frequency, and then things no longer are resonant or matching that particular frequency. Okay, so I think, Chantel, hopefully we've given you a lot of good things to go with, a lot of good things to run with. If you have any other questions, and certainly let me know. I think there's some good things to be harmonizing and working on here. So we're going to do just a little bit more harmonizing in this case, and then we're going to move on to the next case here. So we had somebody, I think, is it Moria? Is it Moira? How do I say it correctly? I guess let me know that. And let's go down to the questions here, and we'll go with this. Also, Deborah, I know, Deborah, you wanted to, if we don't do this today, we'll work on you. Okay, you said my name correctly. It sounds like Gloria. Moria. Now I got it correct. Thank you so much, Moria. Okay, wonderful. Do you want to say it correctly? So Chantel, keep us posted on how you're doing. There's a wonderful clearing going on here and some beautiful higher energies moving in. I absolutely love it. I want to say again for anybody who has the Carolyn Mine Young Living Essential Oil, hang on, you won't see the camera for just a second, Young Living Oil on Point, that you want to go ahead and sign out of your Genius and then sign back in. And when you hit the upper right refresh button, which is 2 semicircles with arrows on them, that you will get the update. So there's about 75 new additions to the Oil on Point panel made by Kelly, thanks to Diana's eagle eyes really looking and finding the updates. We really appreciate it. And so we have even more ability to test Oil on Point. The only caveat is that you're probably going to need to get the Kindle version of Carolyn's work. Carolyn doesn't actually, this is small, small practitioner in terms of her resources, and she doesn't publish a new book until all the old books go out of stock. Therefore, there are many new oils. Let me just turn this on here. There are many new oils that she has updated. So to get the emotion related to the Oil on Point, you're going to probably need to download the Kindle book. I hope that makes sense. So Moria, I'm gonna see if I can unmute you. I don't know if you have sound, and we could record your voice. Oh great, my sound just went. Speaking of sound. All right, so my sound just probably popped out for a second, you guys. Speaking of sound. So if we can get Moria to do her voice, then great. If not, that's not a problem. Moria, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good this morning. How are you?
Good. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, and thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. A little bit about what's going on is I have been so overwhelmed over the last 10 years and feel totally shut off, blocked, and one thing after another happening emotionally and physically and spiritually. And I just can't seem to get a foothold on where the discordances are so that I can move forward. So,
Okay, so it's mostly this is an emotional issue rather than a physical issue.
well, there's a lot of physical issues, but the emotional side is probably the deeper. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, is there anything in particular you want to connect that with? Is it like a life job change or just a series of events or?
It is a life and job change. I was in corporate America in 2007, and I had a pretty profound spiritual break during one of my last big corporate meetings, and was in the process of trying to switch life paths. So not having a career, but having a life path and doing spiritual energy work with animals and people. And it's been one travail after another since then. I've had 3 head injuries. I've had homelessness and virtually no income for the last 10 years. Dental problems, mental thought.
Okay, okay. Now I got more of the picture. So what is the number one thing that you would like to change?
My outlook on life so that I can really choose to be here and move forward.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's record your voice and I'll count you down so you know when I'm going to start. And you just say your name. My name is, say your name, and then say, and just keep repeating A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U, okay? So I'm going to start here in 3, 2, 1. I'm recording.
My name is Moria Alexander. A-E-I-O-U. 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 A-E-I-O-U.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna mute you here, and then we're gonna meet you back sort of towards the end. So just see what I'm doing here on the screen, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being part of class today. Okay, one important thing, you guys, right here, you're going to notice that the voice format is not showing, and that was because of something that the developer, Ryan Williams, needs to correct in relation to the iPads. So hang on, he's working on it. It has been holiday and everybody's trying to get a little time with family. So just everything is working correctly. You're not just not seeing the visual format. I think you can't do the voice harmonics. So everything else is exactly the same. So hang in there, you guys. We will get that corrected, okay? Let's go ahead and add the additional libraries here. And let's see what's going on. So a lot of life stuff. It sounds like she's ready for a profound change. She's sort of entered into the realm of possibility, and I'm sort of like, I'm ready. And that's a wonderful, wonderful place to be, because it's a state of grace. It's a state of opening. It's a state of being willing. It's a state of really asking for the miracles to be presented. So that's a good place to be, actually. All right, so first we look at the aura just to get like a baseline, because we want to look at the aura and see how it's changing. This seems rather neutral. There's some beautiful blue above. This is a very high vibrational color. That looks good. And then there's not any sort of physical blockages showing per se. Maybe you've been working on yourself as you've been on the trial version. There's a little bit sort of more of the physical stuff showing below, but it's also very symmetrical. So there's actually a lot of good going on here. So perhaps you've been working on yourself. It's interesting, we've got the spiritual protection again showing up. So sort of when you get a group of people together, you'll always find a common theme. So if you're testing a few people at one time, you're going to see probably a common thread. So auric protection. All right, that's interesting. This is something you could just surround yourself with light using your intention first thing in the morning. It just sort of speaks to maybe being depleted. You need to strengthen your aura. Good salt bath, Epsom salt bath, something like that could be helpful. Now, dark forces, I don't really attribute this to, ooh, people are coming to get us, that there's dark forces. I contribute that's something, keep working on yourself. What are you saying? You're the ultimate like force, good or not good. So if you're saying like, I'm not going to be able to overcome this, or I'm never going to get out of this, or the world is against me, or this is because of my parents and so forth, that would cause a reading of dark forces, because the dark forces are the negative momentum that you are creating with your words and thoughts. So what do you do to correct it? Reverse it and start to think positive thoughts. So go on YouTube and go and listen to somebody who has 500 affirmations that they're repeating, or go and listen to affirmations that are being said with different solfeggio frequencies. Or if you guys know Patricia Cota Robles, she has that beautiful violet flame meditation. And she even has, for people who are religious, not religious, she has a beautiful Mother Mary's rosary, which is not really the rosary as we think about it, but it's a beautiful contemplation of the divine energies. And it's very, very purifying. So both her violet flame, which she says that, clearing out all things that cosmic consciousness will allow at this time, and then the Mother Mary, you'd have to go and find a Patricia Cota Robles. When you listen to these, you'll feel very purified. So it doesn't have to be her. Anything that you can listen to on YouTube with the violet flame, or positive affirmations, invocations, things like that. Those of you who got the success panels at Thanksgiving, right? We gave those away for free at Thanksgiving. A lot of those mantras in there, the success words, are words that you can say for success that are also very uplifting and positive. So I think you guys get the idea there. Okay, so one thing that's interesting too is the electrical sensitivities. So that's probably not helping. Recently, I moved my wireless router into my garage, and I had to run a 100-foot wire back to the other parts of the house, because even more than ever, I want to keep that wireless frequency at bay. This is a UHF frequency, which is really odd. That is more like a TV broadcasting. Is there any sort of antennas, or that's a really weird electrical frequency to come up. Is there any kind of broadcasting equipment or towers or anything close by? Then we've got the spinal energy. For anyone who's depressed or feeling emotionally stuck, that's a really good energy to open up. So the spinal energy panel could be really great for someone who is feeling stuck emotionally. That could be really, really wonderful. Then we go down here to the cervical and thoracic vertebra. So I would say that a massage, acupuncture, stretching, this could really help your mental outlook. Even just looking on YouTube, if you don't want to go to a class, and just learning sun salutation. Just in your own home, do Surya Namaskar, which is just a series of like 12 or different movements that is very common. A lot of people know it's very easy to do, but it looks like stretching your body would help a lot of the energy flow more. All right, digestion is always good to work on, right? That's like the core basics. That's the essentials. That's a good thing to clean your diet. I do recommend a plant-based diet filled with starches, good things like rice and potatoes and millet and amaranth and quinoa, and then vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. So as much of that as you can add into your food plan would be really, really good. So we do see the liver being the seat of anger, so some liver stuff going on there. Castor oil pack could be a really great thing to help to cleanse the liver and help to relieve some of the stress on the liver. Let's see what comes up in today's stress. So the emotional piece will be one of the most important here. Okay, now Moria says, I can't even be near flat screens because of the gray film that constantly emits from them. I don't know too much about that gray film, but it does sound like you're very sensitive to the energies that come from them. And I don't have any active TV screens, but if I ever do, like I do own one, those smart screen TVs. If it's plugged in, if I'm showing the Genius on it and broadcasting from it, I have to always unplug it at the end of whatever it is that I'm doing. So don't keep any TVs and so forth plugged in at night if possible. They're still sort of flowing their energies if it's something that you're sensitive to. Well, here's the weird thing is there's nothing, just as she's reported, there's sort of nothing frank physically really jumping out here, you guys. It's really interesting how balanced it actually is. It's just true to form of what she's saying, that a lot of things are happening maybe on that more mental, emotional plane, which is kind of fascinating. Now, of course, as soon as I said that, I knew I'd get readings here. So we do have some skeletal, that could be bone loss, digestive stuff, some immune stuff coming up here, and some lymphatic. So we want to get that in there. I think the most important part of this case is going to be the emotional piece. So let's look at it in a couple of different ways. Let's look at from the neurotransmitter, not the neurotransmitter. I don't know why I always confuse flower essences with neurotransmitters. That's a weird thing that I do. Okay, we want to go to the mental plane, which is here, and we want to get the flower essences right at the bottom, right? Okay, so let's look at those flower essences, get them into progressive insight, and then we can go a little extended session and get into some of the oils on point. I'm just a little bit worried. I have Carolyn's 2018 book that I might be missing some of the oils on point and emotion connections that might be in the Kindle, but we can try it anyway. So get the most current version of Carolyn's book if you can. If you had an older version, they're only $15 on Amazon with Prime shipping included. And then if you get your book on Amazon, it'll actually give you the Kindle book for $2.99. So that's a good deal. All right, so we've got scleranthus, elm, chicory, cherry plum, wild rose. Let's get them. It's kind of some similar things that were coming up for Chantel. This is like really, really interesting that there's that common themes coming up there. Really fascinating. We're all interconnected, aren't we? In this mass consciousness, we're all sort of working on similar things and have similar energies and themes. Kind of amazing. So we've got that. This chicory is exactly what had come up for Chantel before, which is kind of, isn't it? Wasn't it? Yeah. Finding good boundaries, and in fact, it was the first one that came up for her. So finding good boundaries, respecting others' space, those who are mindful of the needs of others, they tend to be overfull of the care for children, relatives, and friends, always finding something they should put right. They're continually correcting what they consider wrong and enjoy doing so. They desire that for those for whom they care should be near them. So, but I think, finding good boundaries is a good one to take away from that. Definitely some emotional stuff coming up here. Gut flora, L4, wild rose. So let's see what wild rose is, and let's do a minute of harmonizing here. And then we'll look at some of the oil on point. So I'm not really getting any clear theme yet. This is sort of one that just I'm kind of puzzled about. I don't really, maybe because I don't know the whole story, that there's some missing stuff here, but I'm not, it's like almost just like a question mark. So wild rose is drifting, resignation, and apathy. Those who, without apparently sufficient reason, become resigned to all that happens and just glide through life, take all as it is without any effort to improve things and find some joy. They've surrendered to the struggle of life without complaint. Now, I don't think that that is Moria, because she's very much asking, but she may be clearing out that aspect. Maybe that was 6 months ago or a year ago. So she's sort of clearing that out. Obviously, she's not in that place because she's asking for help moving forward. So, hi, Manuela. Manuela, I'm so glad that you're joining us and you've gotten your trial downloaded. That's so wonderful. So let's go back and let's do one more drill down before we look at the aura and see if anything else comes up. That's interesting. Boy, that you're very, very energetically sensitive. I can't believe that UHF comes up at the top. I don't remember in recent memory seeing that for anybody that I've worked on. And then all of these thoracic. So I do think the stretching yoga angle is a really important one. We all need to stretch as we get a little bit older, right? Older being over 35. We all need to stretch. Stretching is important. Now, Centauri is, there's a heart connection to Centauri as well, but the Centauri is putting your foot down, putting your foot down. We do see the boundaries thing coming right before this. This essence is needed when the person gives so much but forgets or forgoes the act of self-nourishing. The discovery and in training the energy of this essence is taking time to nourish yourself. It allows you to serve others from a place of having something nourishing to ultimately authentically share with others. Centauri is a plant comprised of bitters known to be good for digestion. So there's one of those, one of the flower essences, and the other one was Mimulus is a lot about fear. Fear of known things, fear of worldly things, illness, pain, accidents, poverty. This is being afraid of them. Fears of misfortune, the fears of everyday life. So when you see something about fear, you can check the kidneys and check the kidney meridians. You may want to incorporate them into what you're doing. Hey, Pat from Colorado, I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for, being part of our community this year and coming to the class in California and being so devoted in the work that you're doing for other people. Okay, interesting that you're saying I've been quiet for some time. No things, clear things to work on release. Overwhelmed without specifics, perhaps. Now that sounds very, very, very correct. Interesting that you're saying I've been kind of quiet for some time. No clear things to work on or release. That comes up in your aura, and it's sort of, and even in our conversation and even in the testing, there's no kind of clear things, but we're sort of drilling down, getting more to the heart of what's going on. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of the need to provide more clarity for yourself in terms of setting good boundaries and intentions for moving ahead. Diana says, abandonment, question mark. What came up and what happened in childhood? So is there any particular childhood issue that you can think of that might be part of this sort of in all of this? Let's go ahead and go to the oil on point as sort of an instructive, as something that's so we can all learn from. And I have my book of the 2018 oils on point. I'm looking around the alarm point and oil and emotion starting on page 81. So if that's something that you're looking at. And then I'm going to go to, actually, I wonder if it's in here. Let's just go to young. Let's see if it comes up. There we go. Okay, wonderful. It says, please test me there in blue. Okay. UHF has come up several times for my clients. UHF imbalance comes up a lot on the eductor. Why? Because the wave is still in the air. Hey, Deanna, that's a good one. I like it. The wave is still in the air. Yeah, the UHF broadcasting, it has to do with the TV broadcasting. Is that correct? So that's interesting. I never think about people being so sensitive to it. So what we do with our oil on point is we have the Carolyn Mine Young Living Oil on a particular type of significant point, which acts as a gateway in the body. And we bring as many of these, say 10 or 15 of them on the red side. Oh man, this is going to get long now. You guys better bring your strong hands to do this. And then we go down here. Boy, transformation on the chi point is interesting. Transformation on the chi point, that's at a number 1. Let's just peek at what this is. Oh, I gave you guys the wrong page in the book. I totally did the wrong page. What I want to do is I want to go from the essential oil. Wait, maybe I did. Yeah, I did. Give the wrong point. We want to go from the essential oil to the emotion. So that's more like page 75. All right. So transformation on the chi point is limitation. Transformation on the chi point is about limitation. Now, if you guys go to the YouTube video about the oil on point, the most recent one that I've done, I've included a client worksheet on there. So please download that client worksheet. It helps you to give a progress of all the emotions emerging for that person. So I'd be able to write down, right, that this limitation had come up for her. And I'm going to make a note of it here. So limitation, because as you unwind these, the collection of emotions that come up are very, very incisive for that person. So let's just go down to the first oil on point that we find. We want to just focus on that one. Boy, that UHF keeps coming up again. I would take a salt bath. Get outside and get your feet on the earth and get grounded no matter how cold it is. Put on a really warm coat, but take off your shoes and socks and get your feet on the ground and see if you can clear some of that UHF from your system. It must have to do with where you're living as well. There must be something in your local area, I'm guessing. So we're not going to be able to do the Zhang Mao because we don't have that in the book. So this is something we're continuing. Oh, it is in the book. Okay, so Zhang Mao on the vertex is selfish. So, selfish is not good or bad inherently. Sometimes selfish is good. So let's go ahead and harmonize those for 1 minute. Selfish can be good in terms of sometimes you need to take care of yourself first. So selfish is not in and of itself good or bad. Just depends on the circumstance. Okay, I'm still finding some things that are concerning me that are not like black pepper. I don't see black pepper in the oil book. So we're going to have to continue to sort of figure out what we're going to do about that. Eucalyptus blue is on the bladder point. Eucalyptus blue. Oh, wow, this is a good one, you guys. Eucalyptus blue on the bladder point is frozen. And I swear this entire unwinding is sort of about that frozen piece. There's no, but I think you're beginning to do a little bit of a thaw there, Moria. So this is a good thing. But yeah, so the 3 emotions so far are limitations, selfish, and frozen. And part of the fun of this is to see how these emotions sort of tell the greater story for the person. So let's get, we're going to go probably for another 5 minutes or so, you guys, and then we'll wind everything up. So just wanted to have a good session today before the year is done, and took a little bit more time to do a couple of people, to work on a couple of people here. So we've got, I'll probably include the flora and T10. Again, I think there's the need to open up the spinal energy, and then there's the need to correct the digestion. I think those two things are important as well. Let's see if we've got anything here that will help with that. All right, that's not going to be helpful. Okay, so sacred mountain on the inner ear point is the fear of hearing. Sacred mountain on the inner ear point, fear of hearing. So yeah, that's interesting. Fear of hearing a truth, fear of hearing something. And then let's do one more, which is spikenard on the disc point. Spikenard on the disc point, misuse of will. Misuse of will. Misuse of will, it could be, that's more like to your own self-destruction. I think about I don't think about it as being so horrible. Like it's, if you drink alcohol and it affects your body in a negative way, misuse of will. If you take actions that work against you, that would, because we do have free will. The best use of free will is really to to be in alignment with spirit or your higher being. And we could say misuse of will is when you're kind of not working in alignment with that, and that doesn't ultimately, usually you don't end up happy with those results. Okay. All right, I don't think I'm going to read this about the appendix removal surgery. We're going to keep this more quiet, but it did, there's something that happened to her early on in life with her mom where it looks like she was shamed by her mom, and that affected her. For that, I would definitely invite you to do our cellular freedom technique session with me, because these old stories and things that are still affecting us, we want to see if we can clear them out for good. And so some of that CFT could be really, really helpful for that. But we know that that's sort of in her field, okay? Okay, so yeah, so she says she lives in a like out in the wild. She lives out remotely. And I've been in town for the last 2 weeks with a TV, watching movies and not really doing anything but walking or self-care. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it, you guys? Let's do one more minute on this. She really agrees with the idea of being frozen. All right. So that Diana says the trauma explains her fear of being seen living in her truth. That might have been in response to the trauma. Okay, so we're going to do one more drill down and look at the aura. I think there's a much deeper stuff that really we're not going to be able to touch in class, except to say that the genius is a vehicle for you to learn more about what is going on the interior. And sometimes we don't want to have somebody else involved in that process. Sometimes we want to do the exploration on ourselves. And so this allows you to do some of that inner searching. And I would encourage you to really test the emotions and flower essences as you're doing the trial, because I think it will, each one that you do will drill down to a deeper layer and will give you a new awareness. And you're responding very, very positively to this. So yeah, I think you can be very, very successful in clearing some of that old stuff in and sort of taking in more of what life has to offer in a very positive and embracing way in the future. So good. Well, you guys, I want to we're just a couple more minutes. I'm going to do one more drill down, but I want to just take a moment again to wish you all a very, very happy and blessed and prosperous new year. There are going to be so many exciting things that we're going to have the opportunity to look at in 2019 with the genius and just with energy, light, frequency in general. There's just so many things percolating in the world that are going to help you, whatever you want to do, whether it's to heal an illness, to be more successful, to be more healthy, to be stronger, to live longer, and to live longer pain-free. All of these things are emerging, all of these things are available, and it's really just diving in and learning about them. And that's something that we really do here, is to teach you about them and help you to understand what they are and why they're powerful, why they're helpful. So that's what we'll be doing in 2019, you guys. I hope that you do something really positive this evening to celebrate or just contemplate. Now, I don't even seem to have pettigrain in the book, so this is another thing that we're going to have to really be working on so that we can get this information to you. Let's jump down then to helichrysum on the artery point. Okay, helichrysum on the artery point is fear of death and fear of living. Oh my goodness. Fear of death and fear of living. That feels like it nails the case. I feel like that's exactly sort of what's going on here. So that's quite amazing. And then Juvaflex on the lung is unappreciated. So with that, let's do one more minute of harmonizing. I'm going to do that as we close the class out. And we did see that aura was fabulous. A lot of higher energies being taken in and assimilated there. So good for you, Moria. Did wonderfully, wonderfully responding. So please keep working with the genius and keep us posted on how you're doing. All right, and Kelly says black pepper, according to Carolyn, is for being in a black hole. Black pepper on the mastoid portion of the temporal bone on page 79, but it's not under B, huh? Let's see. Thanks, Kelly. I don't see it. No, I think we're looking at different books. I have the 2018 version, but I don't see black pepper in the 2018 version. We'll have to put our heads together and figure out what's going on. But black pepper is for being in a black hole. It really gives me goosebumps. Okay, Irina, wanting to know about the subscription. Okay, on the monthly payment. Irina, it's absolutely possible for you to get installments. We do 4 installments at no additional finance charge for every package. So Irina, do me a favor and reach out to me by email or on the chat on my website, and let's figure that out for you. It's absolutely possible. Barbara says, check pepper black. Okay, we'll do all of that. And meanwhile, I want to wish you a very happy new year. And thanks again, everyone. We'll be back here next week. Please mark your calendars for 10 o'clock. We're going to be 10 o'clock Pacific on Mondays, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. Big blessings and much love. Happy, happy, blessed new year, everyone. Take care and be well. See you next year.